In today's video, I'll be interviewing a man plus his wife about the terrifying but ultimately victorious struggle he had with diabetes. Before he changed his ways, his eyesight was failing, he was constantly thirsty, and he was so continually tired, he had no energy to go out anywhere with his family. Today, all that has changed. What in the world happened to him? Before we get into today's video, I want to announce that our ministry, which is called Spirit of Grace Ministries, is planning a mission to Nigeria in late October and early November. Benedict and I will be teaching believers the fundamentals of the Christian faith. We'll be preaching in outdoor evangelistic meetings in the evenings, providing clothes for local orphans and poor children, and providing a free medical clinic. At this time, our finances are low and we could really use some generous donations to help cover our budget for this mission and enable us to do one more mission in the great continent of Africa. If you'd like to help us in this, we'll have a link in the description notes below which will take you to a page on our website where you can donate to our ministry and help make this mission to Nigeria a success. Well, folks, I am so happy to actually do an interview that's not over the phone. I've got with me a man by the name of Max Dominguez.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So, Max, welcome to Beat Diabetes.
Thank you for having us.
So Max is, as so many of these interviewees are, is a former diabetic. Feels good to say former diabetic, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
And he lives in Texas, and he happened to be driving through the Dallas area, so I thought, man, this will be a great chance. We're out in the park. It's a hot day, but we're in the shade, so it's not too bad. Max, we want to kind of start at the beginning with your story, and really the beginning goes even beyond you. You've got kind of a family history of diabetes, don't you? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, diabetes took my mother back in December 2015, and I had an aunt that also passed away from diabetes. And that was 2008, 2009, right in there.
And I think you told me she had kidney failure and was on dialysis, is that right?
Yes, she was.
Yeah. So this is not just a slight case of diabetes. This is pretty serious stuff.
Yes.
So, Max, you knew you had a family history of that, and but I'm guessing you probably didn't think it would touch you, or did you?
No, I thought I was going to be young forever and thought I could eat all the whatever I wanted forever, and apparently that isn't so.
Yeah.
They caught up with me.
I think we're all kind of that way. Even it doesn't matter if you've got a dozen family members, you just can't hardly picture it happening to you.
No, it's a tough pill to swallow, but you know, I didn't picture that.
Yeah. So you told me that you have struggled with your weight for a number of years, but it didn't seem to affect your blood glucose. You didn't seem to have diabetes you got away with it for a long time, didn't you?
For a long time, till maybe I was like 43, 44 years old. I was overweight most of my life, and my blood work came out great all the time. You know, A1c was in the 5s. Cholesterol would be perfect. And just maybe about 10, 11 months ago, I found out I was diabetic.
Yeah. So tell us about that. First of all, tell us what the A1c score was, and then tell us the doctor's reaction and your reaction to that experience of finding out you had diabetes.
Well, the A1c score was 10.9, and you know, cholesterol was out of whack, and doctors like, you put me on a combo pill with glyburide and metformin. I think it's called glucobal. Anyway, so he put me on that, and he said, take this, watch your carbs. And that's all he said.
Take 2 medications, watch your carbs. That was it. Did he recommend a dietitian?
He did not. He knew before I was doing Atkins before, so he knew I knew what to do. So basically, he just, between me and him, he goes, just watch your carbs, take your meds.
Yeah. Now, we need to clear something up. You say I was doing Atkins before, but it's not like you were doing Atkins seriously right up to the point where you had it. Where you found out you were at a 10-point-something A1c, right?
Right, that's correct.
Yeah, you mentioned to me in our pre-talk that you had kind of fallen off the wagon some time ago.
Yes, basically I would just do that to shed weight real quick. And then I was yo-yoing all the time. And so that's what I was doing. So, now it's full-time low carb.
Now, Max, an A1c 10 of 10 or more is very, very serious. Well, I mean, 8 is pretty serious, but 10 is incredibly serious. Did the doctor give you any indication that, you don't just have a little bit of sugar, you've got some pretty serious diabetes going on, you better really be, take this seriously? Did he come across that way?
Yeah, he did. And also on the paperwork it said moderate to severe diabetic. And when we had a little talk, when he prescribed the meds, he said, you're going to want to take this real serious, and watch your sugar. Just don't take your meds in low carb.
So that is not bad advice. Watch your sugar and kind of cut some of your carbs.
Lose weight as well. Exercise. Get out more.
Now, describe your emotions as you found out you had diabetes of a pretty serious kind. How did you feel about that?
To be honest with you, it was a feeling of a mixture between. Well, I was very upset with myself that I allowed myself to get that way. I was very upset, and I just knew I had to take it serious.
Yeah, so did you immediately say, I've got to research this, or did you just say, well, I've just got to do what the doctor says and I'll be okay?
Part of it was do what the doctor said, and I knew that part was true. Then I also wanted to do some research on how to control your blood sugar, because I want to get off the meds, and I just want to control the blood sugar, and that way I could live a good, long life.
Yeah. So tell us what your research involved. What kind of stuff did you read? Did you watch? And did you quickly come to a conclusion about what you needed to do, or did it take you some time?
It took me some time. It was rather quick, at least in my head it was. It took about maybe a month to kind of gather everything. I thought I was doing right. I'd find out that I couldn't have oatmeal. I couldn't have wheat bread. Some stuff they say low carb. Some bacons I can't have. If it's maple flavored, it spikes it. So.
Now, how did you know you couldn't have these things? What tipped you off?
Well, your channel. So the doctor said, just test your blood in the morning, maybe in the afternoon you'll be, long as it stays within these parameters, you're fine. But I found out pretty quick that I needed to test more often. And so by watching your channel, I'll find out, go ahead and eat, test yourself, 30 minutes, hour and a half, just to make sure that you're not spiking and not knowing it. And I found out, I go, you know what, that's probably a good idea. And I did that, and I found out I couldn't, like I said, I couldn't have oatmeal. I couldn't have, wheat breads, some stuff that said low carb, even some sausages and some bacons that are maple flavored. I found out I can't have those.
So you would eat a meal, you would test to see how high it would spike you. And did you have a limit where you would say, man, this is too high, I can't eat this?
I try to cut it at 140. Yeah. 140 would be like BP.
Were there some pleasant surprises? Were there some foods you ate and you said, hey, that's pretty good. That doesn't seem to affect me too much?
Popcorn. I could watch a movie and have popcorn. Oh, and I was very surprised at that. I was like, wow, it hardly affects it. I was very happy for that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, that is great. So you were testing yourself in the mornings, testing yourself after meals. How long did it take you to begin to see some results?
I would say about, you mean as far as like weight? Or
primarily I'm talking about your fasting glucose coming down. What was your fasting glucose before you really got into this, when you first started testing?
When I first started testing, it'd be around 150, 160 in the morning. Could be as high as 174. I think it was my highest. Now, to see results, it was pretty quick. I mean, it might have been maybe a week, and I was down in the low ones, so like 110, 115, 96.
In 1 week's time, you went from the 150s to the 170s, down into the high 90s to the low 100s.
Yes, that quick.
Did that surprise you that it could happen that quick?
Very.
That's one of the things that never ceases to amaze me, is just how fast, and it doesn't work that way for everybody, but obviously for you it did. Well, in terms of motivation, that must have been a real motivator to begin to see those results on your blood sugar monitor.
Yes, it was, and I just found out real quick that, I feel better. In the mornings, the blood sugar was low, and I felt that in itself, I felt better about myself, that I was treating my body right, and I was on my way to live a long, good life, healthy life.
Now, you mentioned that you had some clear diabetic complications before you began to make this change. Tell us what some of those symptoms of diabetes were that were affecting you.
Well, my eyesight started to go. I found myself wearing a pair of readers. If I wanted even just to read my phone, this close, it was very blurry.
It hadn't been that way before?
No, and it was almost overnight, and it was pretty quick. It came up quick. I found myself, I had to sign for something at a UPS store. I got a package in, and I couldn't even see where to sign. I was like, oh. So I just kind of faked it. I go, okay, I see a scribble there, and then I couldn't find where you had to hit the enter button or tap it, and I couldn't even find it. So I see little blue boxes. I just tapped on one to it and said, okay,
Now, did you connect the dots and begin to think, this sure seems like this could be diabetic related?
Yes. And I went to the eye doctor. I got prescription glasses. The doctor called me. They came in. I put them on, and that quick, my prescription changed. And the eye doctor said, you might want to check to see if you're diabetic. You don't have any signs of cataracts or anything like that yet, so you may have caught it early. You may want to go ahead and check. And there soon after, I got some blood work done, and I found out that quick, and I was very diabetic, with resting blood sugar of 299.
Wow. So the numbers plus the vision was a pretty strong motivator, and there were some other symptoms as well, some complications that were starting to show up in your body, right?
Yes. There would be at times where I just couldn't walk for long distances. I was having a problem with my right leg. It would just started to give out. I'd get weak. I'd have to sit, reset myself, and start walking maybe a minute or two, and I had to stop and sit down and rest again, that kind of thing. Now I could walk for miles.
Really? That much difference?
Yes.
Wow. And then you had the thing about not being able to quench your thirst, right?
I could drink a gallon of water in a matter of a minute or two, if as fast as I could drink it, and I was thirsty again. Always thirsty. Couldn't have enough water. I could drink that whole lake right there and still be thirsty.
Didn't you think that was pretty strange?
Very. So it was pretty evident. I go, you know what? Let's go to the doctor. Let's get this blood work done. And that's when I found out, about 5 months ago.
Now, how quickly did you find my Beat Diabetes channel?
Maybe about a month after I found out. What I was doing, I was eating a lot of steaks, low carb stuff, and I was starting to get to that point where I know myself enough. I go, I'm going to start wanting to eat stuff that's not low carb. So I want to find out what kind of recipes are out there on YouTube. I want to stay serious. I want to stay strict. I want to keep the carbs down. I don't want to be tempted to eat high carb. So, and that's how I found your channel, just like that.
Any of my particular videos that stands out to you in those early days?
The pizza. The pizza. I can have pizza with the low carb tortilla. I at least once a week I'm having that.
Okay. Well, that's one of my favorites as well.
The stones.
So you began to see results very quickly, and you knew you had another A1c coming up in 3 months of the previous one. When you went to do that next A1c, did you have confidence it would be better?
Yes. So what I do is when I was testing before and after on the glucose monitor, it gives like a 30-day average, and it was sitting about 108 on the average. So I was like, okay, that's going to be like around a 5.4, 5.5, ended up being 5.6.
Okay, so pretty close to what you had calculated.
I felt pretty confident.
Yeah. So How did your doctor respond? Did he think that was pretty great?
Yeah, you could see a smile on his face. He's like, man, great work. Stuck his hand out, shook my hand. Even on the paperwork it says, awesome. Awesome blood work, great. Good job.
Well, that must have been a tremendous difference in the drive home from that doctor's appointment versus the drive home from the previous one where you found out you were a terrible diabetic.
I didn't think about it before. Yeah, I remember I was pretty happy driving home. I was like, man, it feels good. Sure does.
Wonderful. Well, one of the things people will often ask and in the comments when we do an interview is, tell us what to eat, what don't you eat? So tell us some of the changes in your diet. You mentioned some of the things you dropped, like oatmeal.
Yes.
You did that not because somebody told you to, but because your meter basically said that's not working for you.
Yeah, so instead of maybe having oatmeal, I have the chia seed pudding. Or the cereal that I found out on your channel as well.
Okay.
And I was like, wow, this is a great alternative. And I found some keto recipe for bread. And so if I do want some toast, I'll have that as well. So those kind of changes like that, where you're not eating stuff that affects your blood sugar to spike real high. But you find out you may like that. You may like these recipes. And I just go in and just modify maybe a recipe that calls for sugar, and I'll switch it out with either some kind of sweetener that doesn't spike your blood sugar.
So one of the things that we talked about earlier was the fact that by testing yourself, you discovered when your blood sugar tended to peak after a meal, and it's a little different from mine. Mine tends to peak around 1 hour, but in your case, tell us when yours tends to peak.
It tends to peak more like around 2 hours, anywhere from 1.5 hours to 2 hours. Sometimes it'll peak at maybe a little sooner. I guess it depends on what I eat, and sometimes it just kind of depends on the day. My body just reacts different.
Well, we're all different, and that's really one of the keys. I've had a lot of criticism on my channel for many different things, but one of the criticisms is the fact that I test at 1 hour, but I try to tell people, just because that's when I peak, that doesn't mean you will. But you found out a lot by checking out those 2 hour peaks and how high foods would drive you.
Yes, I did.
Yeah. So you basically crafted a diet that works for you.
Yes.
The doctor confirmed it with amazing results. Let me ask you something, Max. Do you foresee that this kind of a lifestyle, keeping your carbs low, I assume you don't eat chips anymore, you don't eat ice cream anymore?
No. Not at all.
Do you see yourself being able to do this the rest of your years?
Yes. I feel a lot better about myself, health-wise. I could do more with my family and not want to sit at home after work. I can go out and do stuff with the family, and it's nice to do that, to be up and active.
You mentioned that earlier you were so fatigued all the time, they'd go out and you'd just stay home.
Yes, that's true. I say to the wife, hey, we're going to go shopping, we're going to go this, here, we're going to go there. I'm just going to stay home. I was just so fatigued, I was so tired, lethargic. I didn't want to do anything. Mm-hmm. I barely had enough energy to go work,
Well, diabetes is a very scary word for almost all of us when we first hear it in connection with ourselves. But now that you've gotten some control, I just have a feeling you're not so scared anymore.
I'm not, and I don't feel like I'm missing out on anything. Like just for example, last night, there were some cookies. I know I can't have them. Our daughter had a couple cookies. Enjoy yourself. You're young, and enjoy the cookies. I didn't feel like I was missing out on anything. I had an apple, and I was content, and I was happy with that.
Okay, well, Max, I want to thank you for sharing your story, and I want to ask you, as I do often in these interviews, to speak to the new diabetics, the ones that have just been to the doctor recently. They found out that they've got diabetes, they're scared, they're depressed, they don't quite know what to do. Talk to them a little bit and give them some encouragement. Okay,
well, don't be afraid to check your blood sugar, get your blood work done. You just know you can get through this. You can do it, and you don't feel like you're missing out on anything. You could take simple recipes that you may like and modify them so they do not spike your blood sugar, and you can live a long and healthy life. You can do this.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Max. And we didn't bring up the fact, but you lost 45 pounds during this process, and I'm guessing it wasn't even all that hard for you.
It wasn't. I'm not going to say that, yeah, I go out and exercise a lot. I don't, just by changing the diet. It's 45 pounds. About the most exercise I get. I do when we go shopping. I walk around. We may walk at a park, a casual walk, not even a fast walk. Yeah, just the diet, just the weight just fell off.
It was kind of a bonus, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, it's awesome.
Thank you, Max. Appreciate you, my friend. God bless you.
You too. God bless you.
Since Max brought his wife with him, I had her sit down with me and give me her perspective on those days when Max found out he had severe diabetes. Well, this is an extra special treat today because Max brought his wife along, and her name is Barbie. Welcome to Beat Diabetes.
Thank you. Pleasure to be here.
It is great to have you, and we're going to get a wife's perspective. A lot of the guys that get diabetes, they go through a radical dietary change, which was the case with Max. But sometimes we don't think about how that affects the wife. Tell us a little bit about the impact it had on you, and what did you think about it when Max says, I'm not eating chips, I'm not eating ice cream, everything's changing. What did you think, and how did you respond to it?
We still have children in the household, so I was like, uh-oh. It's going to be drastic trying to find a compromise between his diabetes and their normal eating habits. But it actually has not been that hard. As a matter of fact, Max cooks more, which is a blessing in disguise. But as far as that, most of the things that we already cook, we just have to, like if I cook a pot roast, I just don't put potatoes in it. If we want potatoes, we just cook them on the side, add the gravy to them later. So there's not been a lot of drastic changes. We just edit what we're fixing so that everybody can partake. So it's not been that big of a challenge. And like I said, he's been cooking more, so that helps too.
Well, that surely does. So how did you feel when you found out your husband had severe diabetes? What was your emotional response?
I was scared for him. We had already lost his mom, 2 years prior, due to complications of diabetes. So was his aunt. She was on dialysis and came back from dialysis and had a heart attack in the car. So losing somebody so close, your normal reaction is, oh no. And his was severe. So
you were facing the very real possibility, at least in your mind, that you might be losing a husband in a few years.
Sooner than later, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Did you try to encourage him to research or do anything, or did you just hope that things would work out?
That's his personality. So anything that goes on, he's quick to get on YouTube. So my horn don't work in my car, he's gonna research it and fix it. The heater coil goes out in the dryer, he researches it, fixes it. So I was hoping that it would be the same, which it was. So that was a benefit. That's just his personality. So I was grateful. Plus, I know that he knows what the impact of diabetes was in our family. So he was really quick to act on it. I think, matter of fact, that evening that he found out, him and my son went and had a burger. And after that, he's like, okay, that's it, no more. The next day he woke up and it was a new day. So from that day on, he's really watched and monitored his diet.
Yeah. So when you saw him starting to watch me on YouTube, did you think, who is this weird old guy? Or
no, you're actually one of the only ones I can stand watching. He watches some obscure channels. So especially when he's trying to research something and I'm, what are you watching? And my sister's car is this. Okay, fine. So I just go on about my business. But this one we actually can sit down and watch together, so it's nice.
Okay, well that's cool. And were you noticing the numbers starting to go down? Did you kind of keep track of what his blood glucose scores were as he tested himself?
We have a family thread, and his brother and his wife are both nurses. So he would always post in our family thread. His stepmom is also a retired nurse. And he would post in the family thread, and from feedback from them that, oh my goodness, your numbers are great. We could monitor him along the way. It also held him accountable. So that was nice because he had some accountability within the family to get his act together.
So it sounds like it wasn't too long from the point of the terrible diagnosis to the point where hope started to spring up in both of your hearts.
Oh yeah, it was within, matter of fact, within weeks, because he had started, I call it, he used to get the sugar bug, and it's when his sugar was, we look back now, was too high, and he would get angry or frustrated really easily. And within weeks, like, those kind of dissipated. You just didn't see him that often, and I contribute it to his sugar being normal versus up and down or highs and lows.
Well, that's something we don't talk about or think about so much, but you kind of got a kinder, gentler husband as a result of getting his glucose in line.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Well, that is awesome. Well, Barbie, thank you so much for sharing with us, giving a wife's perspective. And you just seem like a great helpmeet for Max, and God bless the both of you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
What a wonderful couple. What an amazing story. Another testimony of victory over the bully of diabetes. And one thing you need to keep in mind, Max is still overweight, as he fully admits, but he's managed to get his diabetes beautifully under control simply by the slashing of carbohydrates in his diet. Some of you overweight people have been lied to, and you've been told the only way you can beat diabetes is to lose 100 pounds or more. Well, losing weight is a good thing, but it's not strictly necessary to get your glucose down close to normal levels. So be encouraged. Limit your carbs and watch those glucose numbers take a nosedive. Hope you enjoyed the video. If so, give it a thumbs up so YouTube will recognize its value and promote it to other diabetics who desperately need to hear testimonies like this one. And consider subscribing to our channel and then click that bell icon so you'll be notified every time we post a new video. God bless. See you again soon.